Hey, how's it going? Hope you're well. Rob here. Today is a pretty cool day because Orbea have just announced their brand new e-bike. It's called the Orbea Rise. Now, I've got all the details. I want to share loads of stuff about it because it is super interesting and we're seeing more of these lightweight category bikes come to market. So this looks pretty amazing and it gives some of the other lightweight category bikes some competition. Orbea are saying loads of cool marketing stuff, like it's a new concept, new type of ride for those that want to focus on the actual quality of the ride, not necessarily the e-power and having that huge surge of power that you get from what a lot of us know and love, a traditional full fat e-bike. So this is a really interesting concept. So first of all, look at the bike, man. It looks absolutely banging. I mean, you would not even be able to tell that this is an e-bike because what they've done is they've made it look super slim and sexy. So some quick headline stats. It starts at an amazing 16.2 kilos, and that's around 35.5 pounds. Now I have put a little asterisk next to that because there's something I want to share with you on that particular spec of bike that weighs 16.2 kilos. It uses the Shimano EP8 motor, and Orbea are calling it an EP8 RS, and we'll go into a little bit more detail because it's quite interesting what they've done with this. But essentially it is a firmware detuned EP8 to give it a maximum torque of 60. The regular EP8's got 85 newton meters of torque. This has got 60 newton meters. It's the same, as far as I can tell, EP8 motor, but just software detuned. And it's got a 360 watt hour internal battery that is similar to the Levo SL. It's internal. It can't be user removed really unless you drop the motor out. So let's take a look at the bike and then we'll go into a bit more detail about all the electronics. So here's the headline kind of stats. By the way, look at this. This looks absolutely sick, man. It looks like such a beautiful looking bike. But in terms of the geometry, it's trail orientated geometry. So 140 travel on the rear and between a 150 and a 140 fork, depending on the model that you go for. And it's got, like I said already, the custom Orbea firmware on that motor to give what Orbea say is a really supernatural, progressive feeling bike. And they're really aiming this at the type of rider that doesn't want that huge surge of power and wants a very natural and progressive feeling ride. So let's take a look at this EP8 RS motor in a bit more detail, because essentially it is the EP8 from Shimano that has just been released and it has 60 newton meters of torque. It's the same size and weight as the standard EP8. So everything that I have researched about it, and even if I kind of overlay the existing EP8 over the top, it is identical. So it leads me to believe that it is an identical piece of hardware. So all the kind of good stuff about that EP8, and to be fair, some of the negative stuff from the EP8, like the rattle, although I've got to say I've not ridden the bike or this particular motor, so I can't say it with 100% certainty, but to me and everything that I've researched, it looks like it's an identical motor unit, but it's been firmware limited by Orbea and Shimano, and probably really to make sure that the internal 360 watt hour battery doesn't get rinsed straight through within like an hour of riding, because that maximum torque is going to use quite a little bit of that battery. So I'm certain that they've limited it, firstly to preserve battery life, and secondly to make sure it's given that natural feel that Orbea are claiming that you get with this bike. So the internal battery is 2.2 kilos in weight, which is around about 55% of the weight of like the original Shimano 630 watt hour battery, and it's around about The same in terms of capacity, it's like 55% of the capacity. And it uses 21700 cells if you want to geek out about the kind of tech inside it. And it's a 36 volt system. But look at it inside the bike. So if we look at the actual kind of way that it's made and integrated, it looks like super neat. And one of the great things that I like about the Shimano EP8 motor is it is so compact. And I remember seeing them at the launch thinking, God, we can get some really nice looking, neat, compact bikes with this motor. And that's exactly what Orbea have been able to create with this bike and this motor system. Look at the internal, look at the way it's integrated. Really svelte and really slimline, and that battery, it goes all the way up the down tube, but it looks like, to me, like it's really narrow, and they are able to create a really thin down tube. I bet that this you would barely even be able to spot that this is an electric bike from a slight distance. Now there is a range extender that's available as well. You can see it here. It's a 252 watt-hour range extender, and it looks like there's a little bit of proprietary kind of hardware that it sits in. But if you need extra range, so the internal's 360, this is going to be another 250, so you get a fairly decent size if you need an extra range. And the on button is just down there underneath the kind of seat tube, which is an interesting place to put it, but it's there nonetheless. Can't help but think it might have been easier to locate just at the top, maybe, I don't know, but there's the on button. And then it's this minimalist no display concept that Orbea have come up with. So they're saying, look, we want to minimize any distractions, any screens, and we want to keep it minimalist. And if you want a display, you can get a Garmin, or there's a watch app that you can get that shows things like the mode that you're in or the battery level that is remaining. But this is interesting. This little unit that they're using at the top is a Shimano, it's a little junction box, and essentially what it does is it replaces the screen, it replaces the display, should I say, and you can have this on any Shimano based bike. It's not exclusive to this bike, so if you already have an E8000 or considering an EP8 based e-bike in the future, you can remove the display with this little junction box that they use, and there it is in a little bit more detail. You can see the little LEDs on there. But it's interesting that they've gone for this over the display, because I thought the Shimano E8000 display was quite discreet anyway, but they've removed it completely, gone with this. I'm not sure about the look of it. I don't think it looks amazing. Let me know your thoughts, but really neat nonetheless. It's completely display free, similar to the Levo SL, and then you can add a display or a Garmin on if you want it. There we go, that's it, a little bit more zoomed in. So yeah, it's got that little junction box on the front, and there we go, that's the complete integration. So it's super clean, really neat, and I love the design of it. It looks absolutely fantastic. So what about the bikes? Let's have a quick look. This is the Limited, M-Limited it's called, and it's their flagship bike, and this is the one that they're saying weighs 16.2 kilos. So they're going to go out with this kind of weight, and that 16.2 kilo headline is pretty amazing. There are really some compromises that they've made, I would suggest. So first of all, I would say this particular bike is more of a kind of cross-country style build. It's got Fox 34, only in 140mm travel. The rest of them have 150. And maybe it's a little bit more of a show bike. So the reason I say show bike is because it comes with, like, I don't know, I don't like these Maxxis Recon tyres that brands add on to try and keep the weight down. I think they're really, it's almost a little bit of a cheat to advertise a trail bike with kind of cross-country style tyres. Those Maxxis Recons, in my experience, are not a good tread pattern, and they're okay for fire roads and that kind of thing, but for serious trail riding, they're pretty weedy. And you need to really move those to a DHR maybe if you want some more aggressive trail riding. So they've kind of skimped out on the tyres a little bit. And there's a few other things I noticed as well on this particular spec. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely remarkable that it's 16.2 kilos, but they've used lightweight tyres. The dropper post is only 125 mil. The bars are pretty narrow at 760. Full XTR and 180 mil rotors. So everything about it is designed really, I think, to get that weight right down. Carbon wheels, basic shock, well, not basic, but factory shock, but the DPS shock, and the Fit 4 damper on that Fox 34. 16.2 kilos, but if I were to use that and ride that, the first thing I would change is the tyres, the dropper, and the bars, just to my preference. This next one is a bit more like it, to be totally honest with you. It's a cheaper bike. It starts at 7,999 in the UK, but it's a little bit heavier, 17.5 kilos, but it's a bit more trail orientated. So if you prefer a little bit more aggressive trail riding, it comes with the brilliant Fox 36 Grip 2, DPX2 shock, Shimano XTR build still. And I would say that if you got that ready for kind of proper trail riding, you're looking at around about 18 kilos, because it's still on the spec sheet says it comes with Maxxis Recon tyres. Bike brands have got to stop cheating by putting weedy tyres on trail builds, by the way. But this next one is potentially the best bang for buck. It is 6,999. I reckon it's probably around 18.5 kilos, because you still get the Fox 36 Grip 2, the DPX2 shock, but instead of XTR, it uses XT. But the Shimano XT group set is absolutely brilliant. I really love it. 12-speed Shimano. By the way, all of them other than the Limited have got aluminium wheels, and the Limited super lightweight 16.2 kilos has carbon wheels from Raceface. But I think this particular one, the M10 at 6,799, is the best in terms of the bang for buck and what you get in terms of the kit, because that is a very capable electric mountain bike for trail, even enduro style riding. And it comes with a 150 fork, by the way. All of them other than the Limited come with a 150 fork. Okay. Oh man, look at it. The integration is super neat on there, isn't it? It's a really well thought out design. The bike looks pretty sick. So, final thoughts, just a brief kind of overview for you of the bike and the kind of whole concept. Now, I think it's an amazing weight and it's a fantastic concept. I do, however, have to say that I do think that they've maybe throttled the EP8 a little bit. It is a little bit of a shame that you can't access the full power. Like if you wanted to go out for an absolute 1 hour rip and you wanted to unleash the full 85 newton meters of torque of that EP8 RS motor, I do think that they've kind of said, no, we're not going to give you that. We're only going to give you the 60. And the EP8, I've not yet ridden a quiet EP8. By the way, I've not tried this bike, so this is just me from pictures and the press release kind of thinking that why did they do it that way? Why didn't they do it like this? But I think like the proof will be in the pudding. If they've nailed it with the ride and that 60 newton meter maximum kind of torque that they've applied through that firmware, then it could be an absolute banging bike. It is an excellent price and a serious competitor to the Levo SL. So obviously that lightweight market is still kind of ripe. There's not many lightweight bikes that you can get, and I think it's an amazing bike from Orbea, and I think it will kind of help invigorate and help people innovate in this lightweight category, which is really needed, and drive more competition for the Levo SL. So a massive well done to Orbea. You've created what looks like a banging e-bike and thought a little bit outside the box. And obviously they've got their Wild FS, which is more enduro style, full fat with the amazing Bosch motor. So they've got a good range now of lightweight and more enduro focused electric mountain bikes. All right, I will try and get a feature of this bike as soon as I possibly can, a full ride, so subscribe if you want to be amongst the first to see that. But until then, thanks for watching. If you like this, let me know with a thumbs up. Pop your comments down below, by the way. I'm interested in your thoughts on this bike. And until next time, I'll see you soon.